week 2. We are doing a little bit of a different cadence to the course. So this is Tuesday. I want to move everyone over to the next mural in line. And I also want to introduce the next subject using a video like this, hopefully just to point out some things that you may miss as organization is part of this course. You might find that things repeat quite a bit, and you should be able to locate things easily. But as we learned from this week, those experiences we've had in other different locations can lead to frustration when we don't see adequate signage. So this is sort of our adequate signage part of the week to orient you to what's coming next. There's an assignment due at the end of the week is our first assignment to do with getting you with a link. We're actually going to use some different tools this week that I've found over the years as I've taught the course that make things a lot easier. I'm also going to show you a little bit about how things don't have to be necessarily easy, and I'd like you to explore those as well. But just to let you know, some people have varying comfort levels. I got to read all your bios, so if you do feel as though something's a little bit too challenging, please use Mural in order to share what you have so far, and I will be glad to, as well as others, to give you tips. You don't have to, I think you'll find that this particular assignment could be very quick and easy if you wish it to be. So let me just give you a quick overview. I will say that we're talking a little bit about mashing up data sources, so we want to look under the hood, not at the surface of the information that we get on the web, but really underneath, and you can actually take that information and take it away for your own purposes, which is the purpose of some of these data type explorations as we look into our some of the exercises this week on Mural, some of the discussion areas. One is to talk about Twitter, what makes up data, and how do you use those data types, such as date, time, things like that, in order to filter and make more powerful displays. So remember, the course is really just about making lists. This is our first thing of getting a list of things to work with. And you'll work with this throughout the throughout 3 of the projects that we're going to do, and the last one is separate. So look through and read this week. There's some tutorials that I put together. I would like you to build a form. It should be fairly quick and easy, but again, the feeling of this form is just to get you used to how does data get entered into the data that you may find. You know, how do you actually create a record? So if you only had, say, a couple of examples, you could create one more example, and understanding that there's differences, general differences between the type of data and what goes in there. You might also find a little bit of confusion if you're not used to it with things like images. So in a table or in the web itself, images have to be a separate folder referenced by a URL. So we do definitely want to think about having pictures, but I can understand that right now sometimes that's a little bit hard to pluck from a database or from a page, but we'll get there. So don't get too into the weeds with this one. I want to find out what are you interested in and what can you find. So getting data from the web is import.io. Jot is just a quick way of making a form. If we looked at last week, we are also really jam-packed. This is one of the largest courses I've taught, and that means that we also are going to have to learn a little bit about how to use our space effectively so that everybody gets an area in which to contribute. So we might start to think about using the Post-it note thing as we, if you guys haven't used the Post-it note, it's double-clicking and you've created a Post-it note. I'm also looking right now to talk to Mural because I'm not getting notifications. So normally if you write something and I or anyone else would comment on it using this comment feature, you'd get a notification in email about it. I'm not getting those, so they might be a little bit broken. If anyone is getting them, good, that's great. That gives you a chance to not have to be looking at this every single day. But we're going to learn as we go through how to best organize, and this is a great opportunity with all this people about how to use space and content effectively and how to organize it so that it makes some sense. So that's definitely one of the goals of the course. The exercises in week 2 are, one, to understand a little bit about Twitter because it's a very easily malleable data source, and it's pretty interesting. There's always something happening on Twitter, whether we like it or not. But to understand the fields that actually make up a tweet, so we might just be looking at the content, such as the thing being tweeted, but behind it is actually a lot of other organizational data that helps us create really interesting queries. So the first thing is to go to Twitter, learn how to query it, and then, in a sense, come back and post a link to that query and maybe a little explanation, short explanation why, or how you made it more interesting by filtering some things out with using these data types. Well, then I can talk a little bit about the process I go through. So my example is perfume ingredients. So I found this source for perfume ingredients, but I really didn't like the user experience or the way it was laid out. So I was able to scrape that data, and over the next coming weeks, I'm going to try to reformat that data to make it more interesting. Now for you, you need to find some data, so you can start right here. The tool we're going to use is called Airtable. If you haven't used it yet, I think you'll really enjoy it. It's a great mashup of being a database and a spreadsheet. So it looks like a spreadsheet, but it's really a database. And many are very confused about the difference between the two. And Airtable will help. So Airtable has some examples, example data. You're welcome to just choose some of one of those pieces of example data. I won't go through it right here, but if you just go to their examples list, there's like a job board, there's a project plan, things like that. And they've given you representative ideas about what data you'd want to keep about that. So you're welcome to just submit one of those if you like. If you want to go the custom route, you can use import to go to any site and learn how you can pull the data off of the site and use it for your own purposes. That's pretty fun. And if you are expert at this, you can go through JSON, there's a lot of JSON, which is a database format. JSON format data is available. And there's a place here called Mashape that is a kind of a shop for different kinds of data. So that, again, is a little bit expert. It might be good to poke your nose in here, but I'm really not expecting much in that way of exploring, other than to understand that the underlayment of most of the information we see may not all come from the same place. It may be this kind of mashup. So I'd like you to go ahead, as you work in Airtable, you'll need to create an account. It should be free, shouldn't have any problem creating a table and a form in there if you like. By the way, there's also information over here about JotForm if you do create your own spreadsheet. So really just talk about what are you interested in. So I've got mine, perfume ingredients, and then I tell you a little bit about why I think it's interesting to explore. You also, again, are welcome to post examples of what you're working on, and I can give you a feel for whether I think you'd have any issues with that. You also might find that many of you are interested in the same subject, but from different angles, and that's maybe a way to gather together and learn about how to do this mashing up process. And if there is any technical questions, please post them here. I will be canceling the meeting tomorrow. I think it's a little bit too early. I'd like you all to just get a chance to start using these tools and finding data before I go into some sort of blue jeans meeting to explain it. Hopefully there's enough here to get you started. If there is any questions, please use Mural, and have a great week.